One of the hardest things to accept is that systems can fail you. The workplace can fail you, the court system can disappoint you, leadership can fail you. People who should have done the right thing can choose silence. But here's the good news: systems may fail, but God does not. Welcome back to Hustle and Faith. I'm Latasha Johnson, and this is episode 3 of Seeking Justice, Faith, Perseverance, and Purpose in Difficult Times. And so today we're talking about what happens when systems fail. And I want to be clear, this is not a message of hopelessness. It's not. This is a message of perspective, because if you put all of your hope in a system, you may lose your peace. But if you put your hope in God, you can keep standing even when the system is unstable. So the reason systems fail is because systems are run by people. And people can be biased, people can be selfish, people can be fearful, people can be influenced by money, status, relationships, convenience, and power. And that is why the Bible talks so much about justice. God would not have commanded people to defend the oppressed if oppression didn't exist. He would not have to tell people to plead the case of the widow if vulnerable people were always treated fairly. And so Isaiah chapter 1 verse 17 exists because God knows human systems can become corrupt, indifferent, or unjust. So let's think about Joseph. He was betrayed by his brothers, falsely accused, and imprisoned. Multiple systems failed him, his family, employment, and justice. But God was still with him. Then let's talk about Daniel. He was targeted by people who were jealous of his excellence. They manipulated the law to trap him, but God was still with him. And let's talk about Jesus. He was betrayed, falsely accused, mocked, and sentenced, even though he was innocent. If anyone understands injustice, it is Jesus. Okay? So when we say God understands, that's not a cute church phrase. He really does understand. And so when systems fail, it can feel like God is absent. But delay does not always mean denial. Sometimes God is building endurance. He's exposing what was hidden. He's strengthening your voice. And he's teaching you how to walk through fire without smelling like smoke. And that doesn't mean the pain is not real, because it is. All right. That does not mean that injustice is okay. It means the story is not over. One of my favorite things to do is to watch documentaries. I've always loved them, often more than traditional movies, because something about documentaries reveals something powerful. Everyday people are living through extraordinary circumstances, fighting unseen battles, challenging broken systems, and bringing attention to issues that affect real lives. For years, I've watched those stories from the outside. I never imagined that one day my own life would feel like a documentary. But truth really is stranger than fiction. The things I've experienced over the past 5 or 6 years have been painful, eye-opening, and at times just downright unbelievable. More than once, people have told me, you need to make a documentary about this. And to be quite honest, and it's something that's exactly what I'm thinking about doing, but I've got to figure out the process and how to do so. Because there are so many loopholes that are affecting people from seeking justice in the event that they decide to file as a pro se. And I'm just going to leave it at that. But this project is something that's deeply personal, and it's not just about me. It is about the everyday person who does not have unlimited money, legal connections, or inside knowledge of how these systems work. It's about the renter trying to leave a bad situation with dignity. It's about the homeowner trying to understand why the rules keep shifting. It's about the person standing in a courtroom alone, trying to be heard. It is about the moments when you look at a situation and you think, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. I have had moments where doing the right thing seemed to cost more than doing nothing at all. And I've had moments where I wondered why the process felt harder than the original harm that was done. And I've had moments where I ask God why seeking justice sometimes feels so exhausting. And maybe you have too. Maybe you've been in a workplace where leadership protected the wrong person. Maybe you've been in a family where telling the truth was treated like causing trouble. Maybe you've dealt with people in power who acted as though accountability was optional. That is why our faith cannot be shallow. Naive Christianity will not sustain you in a justice battle. You need a faith that could survive disappointment. You need a faith that could survive delay. You need a faith that could survive unanswered questions. You need a faith that can stand even when you don't know how God is going to work it out. I'm not stepping into this work casually. I know that exposing injustice requires wisdom, strategy, courage, and spiritual grounding. I also know that nothing meaningful gets done apart from God. In fact, I've learned that the hard way several times. So my prayer is extremely simple. Lord, help me do my part. Help me to tell the truth with wisdom. Help me bring attention to what needs to be seen. Help this documentary or whatever this project that I'm trying to work on educates, empowers, and encourages people who feel overwhelmed by systems they were never taught how to navigate. Because sometimes the story you never wanted to live becomes the story God uses to help someone else survive. And so when the system fails, I want you to do these 5 things. First, tell the truth. Don't exaggerate. Do not minimize it. Tell the truth. Second, document what matters. Memory can be challenged, but documentation helps preserve facts. Third, guard your heart. Bitterness will make the battle heavier. Speaking from experience. Fourth, seek wise counsel. Do not isolate yourself. And last but not least, number 5, keep your hope in God. Not in a judge, not in a company, not in a person, not in an institution. God may use people and systems, but your ultimate hope has to be in Him. And so if you're watching this and you feel like a system has failed you, I want you to remember this. God is not limited by the system that disappointed you. God can work through it, He can work around it, and He can work after it. And God can work in you while you're going through it. Always remember, systems may fail, but God does not. And so in the next episode, we're going to talk about justice versus revenge. Because if we're going to seek justice God's way, we have to check our motives. So I truly hope that this message resonated with you. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to sign up for the Hustle and Faith channel. And remember, if you're everything to everyone, you risk being no one. You never know who you will inspire. See you in the next episode.